And we're back again for another episode of the Draper Dialogue. So glad you're joining us yet again as we sit down and chat with an AWF wrestler to get to know them a little bit better. And I am thrilled to be bringing on today one of our standouts as of late in the American Wrestling Federation, the Legitimate Athlete Brandon Gore. Welcome to the Draper Dialogues.
Hey, that's right. Glad to be here.
Now, I got to ask you, as I've kind of asked a lot of the competitors that we've had on for several months, wrestling was shut down totally in this state. And for someone like you, who I know just has competition running through your blood, how are you able to handle that downtime without really there being any wrestling in the upper Midwest at all?
Honestly, it's just another adaptation that I need to get through. Depending on the training or the wrestling, it's just another way of making me better, getting over new obstacles, figuring out different solutions, really upping my skill as a pro wrestler.
So other than the crowd sizes, since we are now back, obviously, with limited or no attendance, has anything changed for you, or has anything changed with relation to your position here in this sport?
Anything changing within me, honestly, probably just harder hitting. I like the aspect of it's just me and my opponent getting in there, and at the end of it, me winning.
Now, I mentioned you had competition through your blood. Of course, the sport of wrestling, obviously, through your blood. We noticed the MNUSA logo tattoo that you even have. Talk a little bit about your experience as an amateur wrestler. Did you start just within the youth, like just 4 or 5 years old, or did you pick it up somewhere along the line as you grew up? And yeah, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, no, I joined amateur wrestling as a little boy, thinking that, I'm going to get to the wrestling practice and see turnbuckles and chairs and barricades and the whole stage. But I didn't. And I ended up sticking through that all the way through high school and into college. I became a all-state competitor in high school, and I joined a 13-time national championship wrestling team. And so I've had to grind all the way through it, but it's definitely made me into who I am.
Understand you made it to the Minnesota State High School tournament and were place winner there. What was that experience like, that whole weekend that we have every November here in Minnesota? Or excuse me, every February. The season starts in November. What am I talking about?
Yeah, February or March.
At one point, I should know this.
Yeah, no. We don't necessarily get to indulge in all the Thanksgiving activities, but sometimes you can. But yeah, no, the state tournament, it was a culmination of all the hard work and sacrifice leading up to that very moment, and that realization that it's all worth it. And having that single experience, it's allowed me to capture that intenseness, that motivation, and bring it over into other aspects.
Now, I mentioned just in the last question there, I was a high school wrestler too. I think my pinnacle, though, was making it to the JV conference finals, so not quite the level of success that you have experienced, but thanks, pal. One thing that I did pick up when I was on the parallel track as a wrestling fan of the pro stuff, the WWE, WCW, not a lot of folks that were on my team or in the youth organizations were a fan of pro wrestling. Were you a fan of the professional stuff growing up? And what might that have been like with some of your teammates or those that you trained with?
I was always the biggest fan of pro wrestling. No matter where I was at, I was the biggest fan in that area or in my friend group. They like friends, obviously, teammates watched wrestling or knew of it, but I was always the one keeping up with it or, trying moves on them or something. But yeah, it was like just always something that I watched, kept up with, wanted to do, and now am doing and winning.
Did you ever try to go over spots with anyone in the wrestling room?
No, I would always shoot on them.
Probably for the best. So, what made you want to go from the amateur ranks as a successful high schooler, successful collegiate wrestler, into the professional ranks with the academy school? What made you say, this is the path that I want to go down here athletically?
Being the biggest fan in my friend group and stuff, I always just thought it'd be kind of cool to look up on the internet, like, oh, what gear would I have if I was a pro wrestler? Or where would I train if I wanted to be a pro wrestler? And as I was in college, I was ending my collegiate career and thinking, like, what if I did experiment with pro wrestling? What could go wrong? Like, if I don't like it or I'm not good at it, I can say that I tried something I always wanted to do. But if I'm good at it, I'll keep going with it. And here I am.
So, of course, I remember back to all the training and might not show it now, but the 6:15 runs during the season. How was the transition for you with all of the time in the weight room and everything else that's needed to be a successful amateur wrestler? How did that help you make it breaking through in the pros?
That's a good question. So I always trained with the idea in my head that I'm training to be better than my opponent. At Augsburg, where I wrestled at in college, I had it drilled into my head that my opponent is training harder than I am, or I need to train harder than he is right now. So no matter if that was morning practices, morning runs, morning lifts, whatever it was getting up at 4, training harder than the guy standing across from me in the practice. That's the same thing in pro wrestling as well. It's, am I better than this guy, and how am I going to show that I'm better than this guy? It's just that mentality that I talked about previously.
So, what do you think, aside from just specifically the training, do you think you've been able to take from the amateurs as you transitioned here into the squared circle?
In amateur wrestling, in high school and college, we had the light centered above us and shining right down on us. And so it was kind of a spectacle to be a part of. And I got real used to having all the eyes on me when I was on that mat, and I loved it. Now I just get to do that on a bigger stage.
Suppose that is the one difference from a lot of the team sports that might be in that same gym, like basketball or out in the football field. Did you participate in any other sports growing up besides wrestling?
Yeah, when I was younger, I did soccer and baseball. I was shortstop at baseball, and I think I was the best shortstop there was. But as I went through high school, I joined football, where I was a defensive end. And my senior year high school football team ended up taking second in the state tournament.
South St. Paul Packers, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So now you're, I believe, 3 years since you first started training. Is that correct?
Yes, 3 years, 3.5 years. Yeah.
So obviously we can see with your style and your history as an amateur wrestler, you've probably had some influences on you. Who are some of those folks that have helped, not just with your training, as we know, Mr. Anderson, but those that you might be picking up things on for your persona, shall we say, in pro wrestling?
I'm always learning and studying and trying to grab new things, just anything, being a student of the game. And some influences as of recently, Shane Helms, he's been getting a lot into his matches, and his whole character, Owen Hart, Gable Kurt, Perfect. They're all guys that I want to try to make relevant today. my own way.
So we got the great history here in the state of Minnesota with, of course, Vern Gagne and Brock and Chad Gable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you certainly have a lot to build off of there. But you mentioned how you still want to, keep growing and adding things to your repertoire. Right now, where you are as a wrestler, is there anything in particular that you are focusing on, working on, improving right now?
One thing that I'm developing as a pro wrestler is really my matches. And just being able to be the absolute best that I can be out there. Obviously that was the mindset since I first started day one, but now it's escalated dramatically since COVID. People have been taking time off, and that's not me. I'm not taking time off. I'm going to use this time to get ahead of everyone else. And so it's a very unique opportunity that I have presented.
So 3 years in, you've had quite a few matches at this point. You've traveled around a little bit. What's the favorite match that you've had thus far, not just in the AWF, but anywhere in the independent so far?
Well, I just talked about how I'm learning how to develop my matches and kind of be the best match on the card, no matter where I'm at, location-wise or on the card itself. Being unique and being the match that people go home and being like, that kid's good. So recently, putting those new learned skills to use, I was at First Wrestling, and I actually faced Cal Creed. And we had one of the most different, unique, challenging wrestling matches that I've had, I'd say, ever in my career. And that's one that stands out, as well as Legends of Wrestling with Riley Jackson. I got to tag with him for a quick moment, and then I faced Airwolf and Angel Dorado. So we put on a really good match and gave them a run for their money. And then lastly, I can't leave out my match with Nick Aldis, wrestling him for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship belt.
That was at the brewery, right?
Yes, the Academy show.
Yes. So you've had quite a few matches here as a wrestler. Looking back through your whole worldview watching wrestling, you mentioned some of your influences. What is your favorite match or matches that you've witnessed either live or on videotape?
That's a good question. I don't really think that I have necessarily a single match or match to be weird, but more so matches that I love going to more so than others, if that makes sense. A couple examples, it's like William Regal versus Chris Benoit, No Mercy 2006. I don't know if I can say his name or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. It happened. It's on the network still probably, so.
Exactly. Another one is like Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, wrestling in 21. And they're just like clinic matches. I love those. And guys really push themselves to their competitive limits. I love it.
So with looking at all of the talent, not just here in the AWF in the state of Minnesota, but around the world, who do you want to take on that you haven't yet had the opportunity to, that you think you could push that individual to that limit and potentially get the winner's share of the purse?
That's another good question, because I have the same mindset with that as well, and not necessarily having any individual opponent that I want to face, but more so just wanting to take an opportunity at any champion holder. I want to wrestle one with a belt and take it.
Well, that's a good segue into my next question here. You've had an opportunity to win the AWF heavyweight championship over our champion JDX. You did have that one victory in the non-title match. I'm going to ask you this. Why do you think it's been so difficult for you with your experience, with your ability, with your physical conditioning to get that title belt away from him?
Honestly, I think it's more so that he has the home field advantage. He's been more of a native to AWF than I have been. I'm starting to pick up. You're starting to see me more at AWF. And so I'm still developing, especially in this COVID era. It's new to me, the whole atmosphere of it, the ring, the ropes. He's more adjusted to it. I'm not. But I am learning. I did have that win against him, like you said.
Well, forgive me if it sounds like you might be making some excuses here. I mean, we were all shut down for a while. There's no crowds right now. So how do you really figure that it's a home field advantage for JDX?
Are you kidding? Have you wrestled a match? You don't really understand the toll that it takes on your body about adjusting to the ring, the ropes, the turnbuckles, everything. You don't understand. I am a champion in other places. I know what it's like there. Just give me time here. All right, give me more opportunities, whatever it takes. Or if you don't, it just proves you're scared.
Is the tension of the ring ropes at other places really all that different? Do we need to get a micrometer out here or something to make those differences published?
It's you don't understand unless you're in the ring having that match. It's the
well, the people watching don't understand, so why don't you educate them?
All right, fine. So I'll do a moonsault, right? I need to know how it feels to be up there. I need to feel balanced. It's weird. AWF, I'm learning.
Well, I know Tony DiNucci just dropped a bunch of money on a new canvas, so I hope that at least will help you, maybe help you in your quest to become AWF heavyweight champion. But beyond the AWF, we know we're a promotion that runs predominantly in the state of Minnesota, other places in the upper Midwest here or there, or other places throughout the country. Mm-hmm. What goals do you have in this sport? And I know a lot of people want to get signed by the major companies, but is there a particular place that you want to go to really show off your craft across the world?
I think it'd be a good opportunity to go. I think it'd be good to be in Impact or WWE. I wouldn't say that I'm a flippy guy or, I'm really doing all these like run spots or anything, bouncing, flipping off the ropes or nothing. I'm more of a ground and pound TV guy.
See more dives
like
from
smile
you.
at the camera. And so I think any place that has more of that TV production and exposure would be a good fit for me.
And so this is a hypothetical here as I transition to some other questions that I have down. So say you did get signed to one of those companies and they told you to, ditch your current persona. You can't be Brandon Gore anymore. And you get this meeting across the table with Vince McMahon. What sort of gimmick would you either embrace or perhaps just tolerate the most if you got the call?
A gimmick. What gimmick would I embrace? I think it's really up to the gimmick itself and whoever is in that gimmick. Good examples would be, I mentioned Shane Helms, the Hurricane. You gotta think of like who could pull that off, and Undertaker and Goldust. These guys are all great at their persona, their character. And I think it's just finding out what works and what doesn't. Not every gimmick or character or persona is going to work, and it may not be the first time, but it's just figuring out, like I said, what works, what doesn't work, and getting over the crowd and with the boys in the back and the outfits and everything.
All right, so we see you got that backdrop there.
Yes.
This, which is as we talk about personas, you've built you've built a brand definitely there. But in front of that backdrop, you often have these press conferences that sometimes we have played on our television show on 45 TV. And as the mouthpiece of the AWF, the on-camera journalist, I just have to ask, so what will it take for me to finally receive these press advisories about these press conferences, or just to get credentialed to cover these media events?
DJ, I'm going to be honest. These reporters and interviewers are a close circle of mine, and they're invited because I enjoy having their presence around. They make me better. They ask the right questions, honestly. Whereas you, I can tolerate you,
Thanks.
just to get down to the fact, I don't enjoy having you around. So don't be expecting no credentials anytime soon, or any advisories or anything. I keep my circle tight, close, and no.
So you've got Meltzer there. I'm sure you've got Wade Keller. I'm sure you have.
I got everyone.
Anyone else in your circle there that you're excluding me from?
Everyone but you.
Thanks. That's great. Really makes me feel good about our work here with the AWF. Another question here as we have a quick shift back to your time as an amateur wrestler. Any weight cutting experiences or stories to share with us that the viewers might be interested in?
I don't think we have enough time for that, but just to keep it simple, plenty of weight cutting experiences. Little known fact is I've never missed weight, so I'm reliable weight cuts, and I'll get it done no matter what it takes. But I remember specifically one time in the Augsburg weight room where we had weight sheets, weight tracking sheets for lifting, and had to lose, I think it was like a pound a day off. I remember just seeing my strength go down dramatically and just thinking, like, this is not good for me. So that's kind of where I had the idea of, like, wrestle up and be stronger, whereas I'll be facing guys who are losing that strength.
As there's been more scrutiny on the sport of amateur wrestling over the last couple decades, I remember, do you think there's going to be more individuals taking that tact as opposed to just these insane drops that we've sometimes seen, or that I remember anyway, from my high school days?
Cutting weight is part of the sport. It allows you to really get the feel for it, and push yourself, push your body, push your mind to a new level that honestly not a lot of people will ever experience. It's something I'd say maybe everyone should experience once in their life to truly understand how tough they are and how tough I am, and won't be able to last.
Well, thank goodness, I guess, here in the AWF, we only have the heavyweight division, so I guess that's where you are right now. I suppose we could encourage Tony DiNucci to maybe put in a junior heavyweight or something like that, and then see if you still have it, but I don't think we necessarily need to go there. My next question, sort of based off of the same subject. We know you are extremely dedicated in the gym, extremely dedicated to your physical fitness. What's your favorite cheat meal?
Oh, man, favorite cheat meal. Cookies. I love cookies. I say I love cheat meals, but at the same time, I think everything in moderation. I really love the aspect of nutrition and thinking, like, what can you do to make something healthier, even if it's not maybe seen as the best meal to have, like thinking of like spaghetti or whatever it may be, pizza, just making it better. So I recently found a diet that I'm been able to have all those things on it and still lose weight, still gain strength in the gym, still perform at my best in wrestling. It's just a matter of finding what works, what's consistent and everything. But something that is consistent for a little snack, if I've earned it, is a cookie.
It's not really a meal, though.
If you eat enough.
I suppose so, and that could definitely be the case, though the protein and other things aren't quite there. Though
You said cheat meal.
I understand that, but you can still have a thick ass ribeye or something along those lines, right?
I'll tell you, I love ribs. I love ribs.
Okay.
I love steak. Maybe that's not cheat meal, but it gets the job done.
Ribs, that I will accept as an answer.
Good.
Here's a question I got for you. This is really recent now. We saw that you participated in a music video recording. You also were in there with AWF former champion Arya Davari. It was for the band Firefight, local rock act here in the Minneapolis area. How did you get looped in with that, and what was that experience like?
So actually Arya hit me up saying that he was going to be a part of this music video that he was going to be in along with this band Firefight. And so he was saying, like, he was telling me the idea of it and said that he wanted me to be in it. And I agreed. And we got there. And it was amazing. I loved it. I want to be a part of more music videos, doing more fight scenes or whatever, beating up Arya. Their music is great. Firefight, I love listening to them now. I was able to discover a new band out of it. But yeah, it's all thanks to Arya.
Now, in that video, we saw you as kind of a street fighter as opposed to a wrestler. Was there anything you needed to learn in order to effectively pull that off?
Not really. No. I throw punches in the ring. I can throw punches underground. Like, there wasn't too much adjustment going on. As I mentioned before, there's no rings to adjust to, just throwing hands. So I was able to learn real quick.
Okay, so you can hop into a fight scene in a music video just fine with no problem at all, yet the tightening of the canvas or the ring ropes or the type of material on the turnbuckles in the AWF's just too much to overcome to become AWF heavyweight champion. Do I have that right?
It's not too much to overcome, all right? Like I said, I beat JDX one time. Do it again. It's just a learning curve. He's been there longer. He knows the people, the atmosphere, everything different. Now, fighting in a underground, rock band area, that's different. I can take anyone. I just use my hands. It's fine.
Speaking of music, what's your go-to workout music? Band, song, etc.?
Really, it's any old school hip hop. I love Wu-Tang. One that I can always lift my heaviest to is Notorious, Biggie Smalls. I love lifting to him. Him and Bone Thugs and Harmony. I love their Notorious Thug. Yeah, any old school hip hop, I love.
Really old school there. Question here from PD in St. Louis Park. What's the name Tanner Moore mean to you?
Tanner Moore means the beginning. Tanner Moore is a throwback. It signifies to me evolving, honestly. Seeing that was like me really trying to find myself and who I am as I was learning to be this pro wrestler that I've turned into be today. Tanner Moore is a start to Brandon Gore.
So here's one for you. We see you here in the AWF and elsewhere in wrestling. You're a no-nonsense, intense fella. How do you relax? You have any hobbies, interests, anything outside of wrestling that keeps you going?
Honestly, I used to do photography. I still do it, but I'm not as entrenched into it as I was previously. But photography is something that I love to do. I have all these expensive cameras. I do mainly all of my own promo pictures. Um, as well, like I just love listening to music, hanging out with friends, or whatever. Honestly, learning new things, or as I mentioned before, studying wrestling, being a student of the game.
All right, Brandon Gore, it's been great having you here on the Draper Dialogues. We're about ready to wrap this up. Do you have any parting words for our AWF audience, either watching on Facebook, YouTube, or listening on the podcast version?
I'm just getting started. I'm evolving every time I get into that ring, and I can only get better.
How can folks find you on the interwebs, on social media, and do you have any merchandise available for sale anywhere?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm most active on Instagram. You can find me on all those things at official B Gore. Look me up, Brandon Gore, as well. And my merch, I have a pro wrestling tee store. It's linked in all of my descriptions or bios, as you could say. So you can buy my merch there, support me there. I love seeing my
Brandon Gore, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you here in the AWF, even though it seems like you may not be looking forward to seeing me around the AWF.
I'll see you when I see you, but that's it.
All right, thanks a lot. Brandon Gore, the legitimate athlete here on the Draper Dialogues. We want to, of course, thank you for joining us as well. Hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. We also hope you have a safe Thanksgiving. Be sure to be safe out there. We've got COVID numbers on the rise. It's up to all of us to do our part here to get a handle on this. So hopefully we can go back to live AWF events with crowds full, arenas jam-packed. Cannot wait for that to be a reality yet again. Again, thanks for joining us, and be sure to join us next time here on the Draper Dialogue. So long, everyone.